Sometimes you can learn more about a team when they lose than when they win. And that 1-0 defeat to Crystal Palace yesterday, Manchester United's 4th out of our opening 7 Premier League games, was a bad one. And there were some key important takeaway points that I want to run through in this video. I think there's going to be 5 things that we learned from that game. A lot of it is negative because there are a lot of negatives when it comes to our team at the moment. You can let me know in the comments below what you feel are the main talking points from that game. But I'm going to run through what I feel are the main talking points, right? And first up, and this one I suppose is the most obvious one, right? The inconsistencies of this team, it's wild. And, you know, look, momentum is a serious thing in elite level sport, all right? The swings that happen when you string a couple of wins together, what it can do. And we did that midweek against Crystal Palace, the same team at Old Trafford, the same venue within the space of 5 days. We did that against Crystal Palace. Did they have a couple of players missing? Yeah, cool. So did we, from the starting 11 who is on strongest on paper going into the season. And then we go and do that against Crystal Palace a few days later. And Erik Ten Hag, he knows there's no excuses. He said, look, I can give you reasons, but you would explain it as an excuse. There are no excuses. There are no excuses to losing to Crystal Palace at Old Trafford, 1-0. And we rarely threaten the goal. And as much as I want to speak about the inconsistencies of the team, and you can talk about the inconsistencies of the players' application and attitudes and fitness levels and performances, X, Y, Z, right? One big point stands. This Manchester United team do not score enough goals. Now, I'm going to speak specifically about Marcus Rashford in a little bit, so I'm just going to focus mainly here on Manchester United overall as an attacking unit and an attacking team. And the stats are pretty damning. This is from the Athletic. Manchester United, like last season, right? We only scored 58 goals, same as Brentford, who finished 9th. And we've scored 6 goals in our opening 7 Premier League games. 6 goals in 7 games is absolutely horrendous. And you go down here, and that stat there at the bottom, I thought, I didn't actually know that one. And that's one that kind of stood out to me. Manchester United had 13 wins last season in the Premier League by only 1 goal. And while I'll always remember the Southampton and the Leicester 1-0 wins between Liverpool and Arsenal at the start of the season, I always hailed them as really impressive performances defensively, resolute, held on to the 1-0 win. Yeah, winning by 1 goal is good. But pumping teams 6-0, that's what Manchester United simply, I don't know when the last time we did that. And Ten Hag knows. And as I said, I'm going to speak about Rashford specifically soon. So, right, okay, I'm just speaking about the overall lack of cohesiveness, not cohesiveness, inventiveness, quality in the final third. Manchester United here yesterday, look, we had, stat-wise, you look at that and you go, Man United should have won that game. 19 shots. How many of those shots were actually dangerous shots? And you know, one big thing I really noticed in that game yesterday, this might be slightly confusing, so let me explain it to you, all right? Here you can see this is the passing map of Manchester United in terms, the stronger the line between the 2 players, so that's Rafael Varane there passing to Dalot. You can see, I'll zoom in on it a bit, right? The thicker that line, the more they pass to each other. And this is what I want you to look at. Bruno Fernandes to Rasmus Højlund. Where were the through balls yesterday? Rasmus Højlund, right, I thought was a genuine positive from the game. When I did my little short 5 things that went out on TikTok and Instagram, I just said everybody to a man was poor. But I think Højlund occupied the right positions. And as we can see there, Bruno Fernandes simply wasn't giving them to him. So as much as I'm going to focus on Marcus Rashford next. But Bruno Fernandes, as the playmaker, needs to make plays. I can't believe that the severe lack of through balls that we saw yesterday. But just going back to that, Man United, no team last season won more Premier League games by only 1 goal than Manchester United. We've only scored 6 goals in 7. Our lack of goal scoring is a major, major problem. Now, Højlund will continue to tick and the team have to start getting used to it. But now, I want to speak about Marcus Rashford, okay? And the form of Marcus Rashford and Casemiro in particular. Because Marcus Rashford, that game against Crystal Palace, he's had is it goal against Arsenal? That was a really good performance overall, I think. He's not looked anywhere near the levels that he set himself last season. 1 goal and 1 assist in 7 games in the Premier League from our top scorer last year. Erik ten Hag speaking about him here after the game. He said, look, you have to be more determined, willingness to try and score a goal. And while this next comment wasn't directly aimed towards Marcus Rashford, it pretty much sums up Rashford's game right now. It's about decision-making. The qualities and the skill set the players have. There were many occasions we are in the position to put the ball where we want, and we have to make the right decision. We have more qualities. We have more qualities than we show today. And Marcus Rashford definitely was probably the player who frustrated United fans the most, because we did get the ball out to him so often. And it was his natural game, and has always been his natural game, to head down and drive, and it doesn't cut it anymore. He needs to develop. He needs to improve because of that man he's got alongside him. I don't think there was a chance. I think it was from was it a Bruno cross? I think it was a Bruno cross into Højlund. I think that might be the only time we actually found him, really. That was when Sam Johnstone made 2 saves. Bruno, I think, had a shot, and then a couple of seconds later, Højlund had a header saved. We're not getting the ball into him anywhere near enough. He's got the enthusiasm, the physicality, the quality, the athleticism to get into those positions that we have to make more of. And Marcus Rashford is definitely guilty of not making more of them. And alongside him, Casemiro. Because I firmly believe that the likes of Rashford and Casemiro, they are, and they should be, the sort of the leaders in this team in how they play. And Casemiro this season, right, that game aside from midweek against Crystal Palace, has been shocking. I did a short this midweek about the evolution of Casemiro and how I think that when Amrabat is now in the team, we could see a far, far better Casemiro going forward. But there were so many occasions on the edge of our own box yesterday where he's just wayward passes. Like, what are you doing? Like, you can easily and you should be able to find a teammate with that ball. And when you've got players of Casemiro's quality making such basic mistakes like that, it makes it so difficult for your team. For me, the form is most concerning around Rashford and Casemiro. But I think there are plenty of other players that you can include in that. Bruno Fernandes is somebody who I feel is overly criticised. But yesterday, we needed him to be the playmaker far better than he was. And had we been, we probably would have created better opportunities. But you know, one thing I'm really seeing, which I don't think will be resolved until injuries are resolved, and that's Manchester United playing out from the back. It's too sideways. It's too cumbersome. 2 polar opposite players here in Martinez and Lindelof. Martinez, who's now going to be missing for the next couple of months. Manchester United there with a back 5 of Amrabat at left back, Lindelof at left centre-back, Varane at right centre-back, and Dalot at right back. Varane, probably the only player who is in the position he would... Dalot, you could say, would be our first choice right back, and he was actually one of the only impressive players. Martinez with those line-breaking vertical passes. Instead of it going sideways and sideways and sideways, and United, well, Crystal Palace, they were comfortable in that, right? Amrabat playing at left back, I don't think he was street smart against Crystal Palace. I think they sort of used his body really, really well, got tons of easy fouls. But in particular, I think it's Lindelof and Martinez and the startling difference in their styles of play. We bought a ball-playing goalkeeper, and we're still not playing it out from the back. It was just sideways football. Went around to Dalot, went up to Pellistri, who couldn't really do anything. I don't think Pellistri showed anything there that tells me that Erik ten Hag needs to be starting him in the next game. Sideways to Dalot, comes back around, goes back around, and it happened all too often because we weren't passing it through the lines. They're the balls that can break the press. They're the balls that can split an organised defence up. And if you don't have those balls, you're going to be too easy and predictable to play against. Amrabat will make a difference from that when he plays in the middle. He tried yesterday and he was good when he drifted in there, but it's almost like we signed him as a defensive midfielder and we need to play him as a defensive midfielder and we can't until injuries help us. But just playing out from the back has to be so much better, so much faster, so much zippier, as does all of our football across the pitch. And the 5th thing I want to say from this, right, and I can't believe I have to say this, but there seems to be noise. It might just be white noise. But if you are even considering shouting Ten Hag out, I think you're absolutely off your rocker. That's when you have to take everything into context. Of all the injuries that we've had this season, of all the off-the-pitch madness that's going on with the takeover, of all the stuff with Anthony, of all the stuff with Sancho, of all the stuff that Ten Hag, from a big decision perspective, I think has got correct throughout his tenure at Manchester United. It's almost like that affects the football. Because it does. And if you really think that I'm going to give any sort of energy towards sack, rinse, repeat, are you not bored of that cycle? And if you want to give any energy towards that, you are free to your opinion. But I will not be supporting that in any way, shape or form. I need Erik Ten Hag to outlast the Glazers. I think he is the man that can take us forward. But Erik, what's with the consistency of these performances, or the lack of consistency? It's startling. We need momentum. After that win against Palace, after the win against Burnley that was ugly, this should have been where the momentum really built. And instead, it's been swept away. And Ten Hag has to find the internal answers despite the external pressures and everything that's going on. These are the main takeaways I've got from that game against Crystal Palace. United need to score more goals. I've explained the rest. You can let me know what you think in the comments below, but momentum is still not there consistently, is it?